This briefing is called The Dignity of Work. When we respect the dignity of work, it means that everyone who works hard, whether they punch a clock or swipe a badge, whether you work for tips or salary, or whether you're raising kids or taking care of an aging parent, if you work hard in this country, you should be able to get ahead. It's so important that senators and people in elective office go out, as Abe Lincoln used to say. He used to leave the White House and go out and get his public opinion bath, and that means listening to people. I acknowledge, as we hear these words today, that not every worker has the schedule flexibility to join us at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. It's important we know, it's important we hear your voices and act in a manner that recognizes your hard work. I applaud your courage in speaking out, and not everybody's willing to do that. And it gives hope, and I hope this gives hope and substance to your dream. So let's begin with Ms. Jackson. Desiree Jackson was a former Wells Fargo call center representative who now works for a unionized workforce in California. Thanks for joining us. Please go ahead with your comments, Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, Chairman Brown and members of the committee. My name is Desiree Jackson, and I am an Assistant Vice President of Treasury Management at Beneficial State Bank in Oakland, California. I am also a proud member of the Communications Workers of America, Local 9412. Last year, my coworkers and I made history when we became the first group of bank workers to successfully organize a union in over 40 years. I have worked in the banking industry for over 25 years, including 18 years at Wells Fargo Bank, so I am excited to share my story today. Frontline bank jobs are stressful. We are under extreme time pressures, and we know that mistakes can harm our customers. During my time at Wells Fargo Bank, I was under constant pressure to meet deadlines. I worked in a call center as a client service representative and an implementation coordinator, where one of my main responsibilities was opening customer accounts after they were sold. This involved answering incoming customer calls and emails at extremely high volumes. The workload was intense. We had to answer our phone by the second ring, emails had to be responded to within 2 hours, and we had strict guidelines for opening customer accounts. We had to complete all of our assigned tasks each workday, or it would result in a meeting with our manager to be reminded of our job expectations. They pressured us to work as many hours that were necessary to complete our daily assigned tasks, meaning your inbox volume was at zero by the end of the work shift. They didn't care how many hours we worked because the bank had misclassified us by turning us into salaried employees so they didn't have to pay overtime. I didn't realize I was being misclassified until Wells Fargo was caught in 2011 and settled litigation over violating wage and hour laws. While I benefited from the settlement, the intense metrics and work stress remained. I continued enduring the daily grind. After a couple more years, I started missing my metric goals because I had developed carpal tunnel in my arms. I took some workers' compensation leave. But while I was on workers' comp leave, Wells Fargo filled my position and told me that I didn't have a job to come back to. After all my years of service helping customers and helping the bank reach profit goals, they just tossed me aside. I was not in a position to fight this powerful bank alone. I was so distraught and angry. This was obviously a very stressful time for me and my family. Fortunately, a few months later, I was presented with an opportunity to work for Beneficial State Bank. I was excited because it was a small community bank with a vision to create a sustainable and humane banking system. At first, it was a very close-knit bank. The CEO would regularly come by and talk with all of us employees. But Beneficial started growing rapidly and changing too. I began to worry that Beneficial State Bank was veering away from its mission of being a socially driven bank. Then I learned that Beneficial State Bank and CWA had reached an agreement that allowed us to organize a union, free from employer intimidation. We were able to meet with CWA organizers during our lunch breaks and at our branches to ask and have questions answered. I was even able to travel to other branches to meet with my coworkers to discuss the possibility of unionizing. So I jumped at the chance and joined the organizing committee because I saw this as an opportunity to keep Beneficial State Bank true to its mission. And I'm so grateful I did. as we are currently negotiating our first union contract, and we are already seeing improvements to having our voices heard by management. I know my experience is basically the opposite from what other workers may experience when they try to organize a union, but organizing has its benefits. The big banks like Wells Fargo see workers just as cost to cut, whereas Beneficial State Bank, our voices matter. I think all workers should have the same opportunity I've had to make a free and fair choice on whether they form a union at their workplace. That's why I believe that the Senate should pass the Protecting the Right to Organize, or PRO Act. That's why I'm committed to helping other bank workers organize. As part of CWA's Committee for Better Banks campaign, I've met with current Wells Fargo workers who are fighting for better treatment, conditions, and the right to union. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.